Okay, I just have to start by saying that politics is exhaustingly and obliteratingly exhausting. Donald Trump is now set to be on trial in May of 2024 for the classified documents case. Now, Donald Trump and his team have argued that this trial should be delayed until after the election, but we've got to analyze this a little bit because, let's be real, if the Donald Trump classified document trial were set for after the election and Donald Trump won, he would just either declassify the documents or pardon himself. After all, we already have a potential handshake deal with Kevin McCarthy that Kevin McCarthy is supposed to bring up a vote to essentially erase from record Donald Trump's 2 impeachments, which is odd because the world already kind of knows about them, but I guess erasing his record is like a show of faith to Donald Trump as the Republican nominee for president. Although now Kevin McCarthy is having heart palpitations over that because there's the thought of, well, is the entire party going to go for Donald Trump, or are we going DeSantis? Is somebody else going to step in? I mean, it's going to be hard for, obviously, Republican candidates, as much as many Republican voters might like RFK, to end up voting for RFK. I know, because when I ran for governor in California, I ran as a centrist JFK-style Democrat before we really knew about RFK, and I ran as a JFK-style Democrat, 51-49 in California, because A, you can only get things done as a Democrat in California, we know that, and I thought, wow, people would probably appreciate a moderate voice and something in the middle. But what ends up happening is you get a lot of Republicans and Republican press attention on that Republican candidate, like RFK, but then Republicans end up voting for Republican because they want a Republican in office, not a Democrat in office. But it does give someone like RFK a lot of media attention, and it adds to sort of all of the entertainment that we get to watch right now. Some of it, again, very exhausting. But I think it's worth noting that right now you've got Democrats saying, hey, look, finally, Donald Trump will face justice. And then you've got Republicans who are saying, why is it that only Donald Trump has to face justice when is Hunter Biden finally going to face justice? And why did the cocaine investigation in the White House just take a mere 3 days to discover, oh, dead end? Meanwhile, the investigations into Donald Trump have been going on for years, and now he's finally being brought to court. And this is where we have this really weird place where we are in America. And I actually like to bring in Andrew Tate into this. Many people who support Andrew Tate for the motivation that he provides or the, masculine advice that he gives, they say, look, if Andrew Tate is a criminal, then he deserves to be in jail. Even his supporters say that. If there's evidence of wrongdoing, then he deserves to pay the price for those crimes. So that is a very clear expectation. But now when we have Donald Trump and a trial set for Donald Trump, the argument is, well, it's not fair that Donald Trump needs to go to trial because Hunter Biden's not on trial. So it seems like there's always a reason why the individuals are supporting should not end up being in the situation they're in. That is, Andrew Tate should not be in house arrest until he's actually proven guilty. And Donald Trump should not have a trial because Hunter Biden doesn't have a trial. But even if Hunter Biden did have a trial, it probably still wouldn't be fair, based on the opinions of some, that Donald Trump faces a trial. I personally think the best thing that we could do, and this is just my opinion, I'm still politically very in the middle, but I think the best thing is put everybody on a frickin' public trial. I am so for free speech, and I so wholeheartedly actually agree with RFK when in his congressional testimony he argues that free speech allows information to percolate to the top, and then the public can make the decision via representative government of, hey, what are the best ideas? And those best ideas should succeed. I think we all agree with that. I think there are very few people who are actually opposed to true free speech, your right to express your opinion. Now, of course, then there are arguments of like, well, if your free speech is causing a riot or a fire in a crowded movie theater or whatever, then maybe there should be some legal restraints on what it is you're saying, or if you're trying to incite like a mass shooting or something. Of course, any reasonable person expects that. But now we also need transparency and, well, who is moderating that discussion? Should there even be moderators, right? But I think that's actually where Twitter is exemplifying this decently well. Some on the left are going to disagree with me on that, but Twitter's community notes has actually been a blessing, and some of the things, while I don't agree with certain photos that have circulated from mass shootings, some of the transparency that we can get on Twitter is pretty amazing, especially since you do hear some of the voices that you highly disagree with. For example, while I agreed with RFK earlier in this video, I disagree with him calling the FedNow system a CBDC. Now, some people are going to go, oh, but it's a step towards a CBDC. Maybe it is. But it's important that we don't make slippery slope arguments where we say, well, FedNow is a CBDC and CBDCs are bad because they lead to tyranny and tyranny is bad, therefore FedNow is bad. That's bad logic, right? It's bad argumentation. So my thinking out of all of this is that, look, we're going to go through an exhausting news cycle of politics. And my goal is going to be to try to provide as in-the-middle insights as possible into really information on all sides. We'll look at everything. So I'll do my best to cover things equally on the left and the right. And this Trump information just happens to be the news of this morning that, yeah, he failed his bid to try to get his trial delayed to after the election, which personally I kind of agree with. I think that the public should see this trial in an open videoed setting so we can actually see the evidence beyond what we've previously gotten, which, this classified information document stuff, I mean, a lot of us are like, oh, really, like, this is what we're going for? But then again, there are a lot of people in the military who are like, dude, I have to abide by all these confidentiality rules. Why doesn't Donald Trump? Who knows? Let's see all of the evidence put out in front of the table. But you know what? That should be done equally. If we're going to have public trials equally, it should be done equally on all sides. Let's talk about Elizabeth Warren's discussions with investors in Twitter. Let's talk about Hunter Biden. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi's stock trades. Let's talk about everything. I'm a big fan of that and that sort of transparency, and I hope to be able to bring more of that to you on this channel. So we're going to see a little bit more politics. Let me know what you think, and I'm going to do my best to maintain my 51-49er approach. It's not the most popular route to take, because the most popular thing to do is just to echo chamber whatever the far left or the far right believes, because at least those on the left and the far left will agree, or those on the right and the far right will agree, whereas the middle is generally a very lonely place. But personally, I always believe that's what America needs and should desire. So I'll throw my information out there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Remember, coupon code expires next Wednesday for those programs on building your wealth. Now, I want you to know this. When it comes to AI, time is what's going to make you money. And if you can prove that value to an employer, you'll always be able to be employed. So this is another way of making sure that you don't get replaced